In this video, we are going to discuss square roots and how to find them. So the square root of a number is another number, a second number, that when squared gives us that first number back. And you might be thinking, okay, great, a definition is all well and good, Mr. G, but what the heck does that mean? So let's take a look at what all this means. We've got the square root sign, this funky looking thing, and that is also known as a radical. All right, so the square root sign and any number inside of it is known as a radical because it's, whoa, radical, or not. Oh, so anyway, when we find a square root, I'm going to go through the process of thinking that's going on here. So we're really saying, what number, when multiplied by itself, gives us 9? So another way of thinking of that is, I'm going to multiply some number by itself, meaning I'm going to square it, and I will get out 9. You're literally doing the inverse or undoing squaring a number. It's the inverse operation. Just like addition's inverse or opposite operation is subtraction and multiplication's opposite operation is division, we now have the opposite operation of squaring a number. So we'll go backwards, much like we do with division when we first learned that. If I say, what's 15 divided by 3? You say, what times 3 gives me 15? So now we're saying what times itself gives me 9? Well, 3 times itself gives me 9 because 3 times 3, or 3 squared, is equal to 9. So what's the answer to this? It's 3. That's it. We'll do the square root of 81. Again, when you see that square root symbol, it's really asking the question, what number when squared, or what number when multiplied by itself gives me 81? Well, the number, again, that's going on in my head here, I'm saying what number when squared gives me 81? The number that when squared that gives me 81 is 9. And that's because 9 times 9 gives me 81. And this actually serves as your check as well. You can check your work by saying, does 9 squared give me back 81? Yes, it does. 9 times 9 is 81. All right, square root of 4. You're saying what number when multiplied by itself, so what number when squared gives me 4? Well, that would be 2. 2 times 2 is 4. And so our answer is 2. And finally, last, not least, the square root of 36. We're saying what number when multiplied by itself gives me 36? And that would be 6. And that's because 6 squared gives me 36. And you might look at that and say, yeah, but what about, like, I don't know, 4 times 9 gives me 36. Why doesn't that work? The square root stipulates that you are asking what number when multiplied by itself gives me back this number. Now, we're actually only talking about the positive square roots. Down the road in your math journey, you'll be talking about negative square roots because technically a negative times a negative equals a positive. So if I ask for both square roots of 36, negative 6 times negative 6, that gives me positive 36 as well. But this symbol tells you just the positive square roots. All right, I want to show you one extra quick idea here at the end of this video. If this is good enough for you, you can click out now and say, thanks, Mr. G, I'm going to go on and do my work. But I do want to show you a geometric representation or way of interpreting why square roots make further sense. If we look at a square, right, there's a reason why we call it a square root. It's we're undoing a square. And visually it looks like this. Let's say that you had the area of a square was, I don't know, 16 square feet. If we're told that we have a square, that means that each side length is the same. So I'll put a question mark here and a question mark there. Now, area, if you recall, is the multiplication, just mathematically speaking, of your length times your width. But we know that the length and width are the same amount if it's a square. So we're saying question mark times question mark equals 16 feet squared. Well, question mark times question mark is question mark squared equals 16. Another way of saying that is, what number when squared gives us 16? So what we're really asking here is, what is the square root of 16? Or the root of the square, which would be the side lengths. Isn't that cool? It's pretty neat. Different kind of interpretation there. One that's out there in the math world. Thought to introduce that to you as well. Take care.